It's wrestling's biggest weekend of the year. Los Angeles, California, March 30th. It's
Dax Harwood.
Dax from FTR.
Dax Harwood live Thursday, March 30th in Los Angeles, California at the site of WrestleCon with special guests Powerhouse Hobbs, Sean Spears, Wardlow, and of course Cash of FTR. Get your tickets today at FTRwithDax.com. Join Dax on stage with a live mic and tequila. We are going to talk about things that we have never talked about on the podcast, and rumor has it there might be a couple surprise guests as well. So what are you waiting for? You're going to want to say you were there. Come see FTR with Dax Harwood live Thursday, March 30th at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Get your tickets today at FTRwithDax.com.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
As an adult, don't we all miss spring break? Nothing like taking a week off from all your responsibilities. Well, here's the next best thing for adults, a spring break from house payments. SaveWithConrad.com can help you get rid of all your credit card debt, just like that. We're routinely helping our listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. And you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this, but check this out, no house payments for 2 months. At SaveWithConrad.com.
Tore it down, waiting on them, but they're here now. Here they come to burn the town, like Henry and Jack. Double A, they'll send your soul to Judgment Day. Respect the past and what it say. You better move your ass out of the way. Hello, wrestling friends. I'm Matt Coon, which means you're listening to Say Yeah, FTR with Dax Harwood. Dax Harwood, you are here recording as we record on a Sunday. Yesterday, you flew in and out of Philadelphia, and from what I heard, things went pretty busy for you there at the old 2300 Arena.
Yeah, man. Woke up at 4:30 in the morning, jumped in my car, drove to Charlotte, Douglas International Airport, flew from there to Philly, landed, jumped in a car, drove to the 2300 Arena. And dude, we signed it was supposed to be from 11 until 2, but we had so many people in our line. And I'm not saying that egotistically, I'm saying that understanding how fortunate I am. But we signed from 11 until 2:45, and they had to cut the line off because I had to jump back on a plane and fly back home at 5:30 p.m. But yeah, man, it was a lot of fun, dude. That meeting those people, and I told my wife this, but I'm not kidding, dude. You just got to remember, I am this small town Southern boy. I've said it a million times, shitty mustache, bald head, 5'10", muffin top. And never did I think in a million years I would be able to reach the heights in professional wrestling that I've reached. I always hoped and prayed and worked for those heights, to reach those heights, but I never thought. But yesterday, man, when I say 15 people cried to us about how we've changed their life, or like how speaking out, on anxiety helped them out, and or like how the things I've said during the podcast has completely changed their mindset on how they live their life, and then they just broke down and cried to us. It's mind blowing. It's surreal. That's what I told Maria. It is surreal that these people care that much about us. And we're not just two guys in wrestling trunks fighting, we're people who have touched these people's lives. And in turn, man, they've touched my life. And it was such an amazing experience yesterday at Icons of Wrestling.
I mean, really, what else can you ask for in this fucking lifetime, right?
Nothing.
Than to touch people and to have people care about what you do. And if y'all want to meet FTR, and one thing about FTR is they will sit and talk to you or stand and talk to you when you do this. They're not moving you along.
And if you want to see them, of course, you can see them at WrestleCon. They're signing for a couple days over at WrestleCon. And WrestleCon is the site of our live show. We're super excited. We had a production meeting about it. We've got, of course, we said Wardlow, we said Sean Spears, we said Cash, we said Powerhouse Hobbs. Couple surprise guests that require a little bit of extra things going on. It's going to be crazy. It's 8 p.m. Get your tickets at ftrwithdax.com. This is going to be just an amazing experience. And I think, judging from what happened in Icons of Wrestling, it's going to be a packed house. We want y'all to be part of it in person, because I'm telling you right now, it probably will stream on Fight TV or something, but we won't be able to put the whole thing on there. We got to black out a little bit maybe. So Just saying, Dax, how excited are you? I know you're nervous, but man, it's going to be a party. How are you going to be nervous to party with your friends?
Yeah, well, the nerves are starting to go away now, only because I'm going to be surrounded by my friends, some of the best friends I have in the business, but also I'm going to be surrounded by guys who have stories to tell. And that's the thing about this is I wanted to bring – I didn't want to ask every one of my friends in the business to come and join us, or I didn't want to use my friendship to try to get them on. I wanted people who could tell their story and who could relate to the fans, and the fans in turn can relate to them. That's why we've got Powerhouse Hobbs, man. Not only is he the TNT heavyweight champion right now, big star on television, but also he has a story that hasn't really been told yet, completely been told, and he's going to have that opportunity to tell it and hopefully touch some people as well. Obviously, I got me and Cash. We have a long history together. Spears, who has been in every iteration of the developmental territory you can think of, also been on television from NXT all the way to AEW. He has a story to tell too, lots of stories to tell, and I'm sure he's not going to hold back. And then Wardlow, kind of the I don't want to say black sheep, because he's not the black sheep, but someone you wouldn't expect to have a story the way he has, and also maybe some backstage dealings as well. Wardlow will be able to tell it. We also have we have a few surprise guests that are on television right now. I have a few people from WWE who are going to come visit as well. Not sure if they're going to come on stage. I don't want to get them in trouble, but they may. We'll see if I can talk them into it. So it's going to be a fun night, dude. I can't wait. I can't wait for the repercussions I have on Friday morning, too, once word gets out, all the stuff that I've said.
And not to mention all of our friends in the audience and all of your friends and family that you consider family, which are the FTR fans. Like, basically, I think what it sounds like is that you talked about how there's such a great camaraderie in the AEW men's talent locker room. And we're taking that camaraderie out of the locker room onto the stage, sharing it with everybody, having some tequila. Guys, get the VIP, because we're hanging afterwards and chilling and talking and hanging. Nothing formal. Just walk up to Dax and start talking. It's going to be amazing. Again, tickets at FTRwithdax.com. Something else that's going on, Dax Harwood, is that you made an announcement on Twitter today. I wish I could have told you, asked you to make it on the fucking podcast, but whatever. No big deal. No big deal. But you have made up your mind. You and Cash Wheeler have made up your mind as to what the future of FTR holds. Is that accurate?
That's 100% accurate. I talked to Dan today, talked to Cash today on the phone, and we talked about what we wanted to accomplish, and the legacy, obviously, we wanted to leave. And I think we've left a pretty good one so far. But what we wanted to further leave, and we talked about a schedule. We talked about money. We talked literally everything. And we've talked about this before, but we knew we needed to. It's come down to nut cutting time, dude. So we needed to make a decision where we wanted to go. We don't have to, if we decide to sign a contract, right? If that's where we go, or if that's what we decide to do, we don't have to sign the contract in April. We can take a few weeks, months, however long we want off if we need to. But we did need to come up with a plan, come up with a decision. And I think it's a decision that is going to benefit us. I think it's going to benefit my family. I think it's going to benefit our fans as well. And I think they're going to enjoy what we decide to do. I hope they are. And there are going to be some people who complain about it too. And that was the thing that we talked about. If we decided to stay with AEW, so many of the other WWE fans would say that that we were too afraid to go back, or if we wanted to leave a real legacy, we'd go to WWE and finish off at WrestleMania, then go to their Hall of Fame or be in their Hall of Fame or whatever, and they'd be mad at us for staying at AEW. But then on the flip side, if we decided to take our career and go back to WWE, the AEW fans would say that we turned our back on the company that made us. A company that has taken care of us and allowed us to do the things that we love to do. And, a company that's also ever growing, dude. And a company that is, it has defeated all the odds, regardless what anybody wants to say. It has defeated all the odds. And so the fans there are passionate. I just hope that ultimately all wrestling fans can respect the decision that we make, or that we have made, because it's going to benefit us. It's going to benefit, again, our families. And I think ultimately it will benefit the legacy we want to leave. And we'll see. I can't, I said it in the tweet, I can't legally, because there's no pen to paper. I can't legally say anything yet because contract's not finished right now. But when the time comes, I think people will understand and know, and I will let them know too, where we're going, what we're going to do. And I just hope they all respect us for it, because I respect them for their opinions as well.
Well, I don't think anybody can hold it against you. If they're real fans of FTR, if they're real fans of Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, then they want you to do what's best for your family. Let me ask you this. It's been a while since we talked about this. Is that everything going on, contract stuff, you're taking a big break, you're back on TV, you weren't on this week, you're traveling, starting to get back into traveling. How is your mental health these days? How is everything going in the brain of Dax Harwood?
Dude, so that was another thing too yesterday, with so many people saying, like I told you, like my story of anxiety helped them out and like made them feel normal. That was maybe the most touching thing that I have heard in my whole career, my whole 19-year career, is that my story and me being so open and so public about anxiety and what I had to do to, because I haven't overcame anxiety, but every day it's a fight, and you just have to overcome that day. And that's what I had to learn. But being able to fight the anxiety in the ways that I did, figure out how to fight it, it touched them and it made them feel normal. For me, I think that my mental health is probably the best it's been in a very, very long time. It did help when we came back and the ovation that we got, and realized how many people actually missed and loved us. It helped seeing the line that we had yesterday and talking to all the people there. Also, I've said it a million times, to the point I'm getting sick of talking about it, but my wife and my daughter. But
wait a second, you're married?
Yeah, I know. Surprise.
You have a kid? What?
Yeah, probably a couple of them out there. But my wife, dude, like she puts up with so much, man, like so much. And if you probably couldn't tell, sometimes I can be a miserable son of a bitch. And if you don't know, I'm sure you could ask some of my coworkers, or go ask the dirt sheets, and they'll tell you what some of my coworkers have said. But I can come off as miserable sometimes. Maybe not miserable. I don't know. What do you think? You think it's miserable? I don't know.
I don't think it comes off as miserable. I don't think it comes. I'm not the person to ask for a unbiased opinion of Dax Harwood or FTR, but something I've seen is Dax can't be happy. Dax complains. Dax, like when Darby said this thing about people whining on Twitter. I got a couple tweets that he's talking about Dax, and I'm like, that's not really what Dax does. Yeah. But I think it's been, the narrative has been bent to shape that because you speak out, and I'll say this, it's not the Matt Coon show, but I will say this, it is my birthday, so maybe I get to talk a little bit. But I will say, if Dax fucking Harwood did not complain on Twitter, where would fucking Dax Harwood be? Like, if Dax Harwood did not start talking shit to the fucking Briscoes online, where would Dax Harwood be? So what people see as not being happy or complaining, you're missing something, which is Dax being himself, and it turned out to be really good marketing. I guess that's the way I see it.
Yeah, but also, though, I would implore a lot of the people to go look at any tweet and see where I actually complained. Did I complain, or was I just speaking my truth? I never said anyone was against me, or I never said any company was burying me. I've never said that before. It's just me. I've just spoken the truth. I don't necessarily think, and I didn't even want to cover this, but fuck it, we're here. Why not? The Darby thing, when I heard it, I didn't necessarily think he was talking about me. I have a good idea of some of the people he is talking about. Darby and I are pretty close. I would say we're good buds, and so I don't think he was. And if he was, I would ask him, and maybe I will ask him when I see him. But I would ask him to come talk to me, and let's clear the air and figure that out. But I don't necessarily think he was talking about me, because I have respect for him and he's got a respect for me, and we've worked together quite a few times, and we talk every week. But I understand what he was saying and where he was coming from. But the internet Twitter people, they can find anything on Twitter. So I'm asking them to go and find where I have actually complained. I'm just telling my truth, dude. And if I didn't stand up for me, if I didn't stand up for FTR, I don't know if we would be in the position we are right now. No
chance. I don't think so.
Yeah. Imagine, which I never, ever complained about this, and I beg people to go look for this. Imagine if we were stuck with WWE, and we would have worn the outfits that Vince gave us, the big packet of outfits he gave us. Imagine where our legacy would have led. We wouldn't have had any matches with the Briscoes. We wouldn't have had the match with Aussie Open. We wouldn't have had the 2022 that we've had, and we wouldn't have had the legacy that we have. Right. But we stood up for ourselves. We stood up for what we believed in. And somewhere along the way, dude, standing up for what you believe in, speaking your truth became wrong. At one time, that was the measure of a character, was if you stood up for yourself, right? At one point in the world, that was a measure of your character. And now it's a measure of how bad of a human being you are, because we've gotten so complacent. We've gotten so used to sitting back and just taking the shit and eating the shit. But if you believe in yourself, man, if you believe in what you have and what you can accomplish, but also what you can give back to the world, especially a world that you fucking love, dude. And right. I love it with a passion, to the point where it has caused me a lot of grief and a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. But I love it so much that I have to stand up for what I believe in. Because if I didn't stand up for what I believe in, I would have just got along to get along. You know what I mean? I would have gone along to get along, and I would have never done the things I wanted to do. And then I couldn't have looked at myself in the mirror at the end of the day. At the end of the day, when we retire, imagine if I look back and said, okay, well, I shaved my back with the Usos. They poured itching powder down my ball sack. I put on these clown outfits. And then who knows what else? If in AEW, let's talk about in AEW too. If I wouldn't have stood up for what I believed in and what I felt was right, what if I would have stayed with the Pinnacle? You know what I mean? What if we would have stayed in the Pinnacle and just been a backdrop to everything that was going on, or what if we would have never got the rematch with the Young Bucks? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
man, all this happened, dude. All this happened because of a few reasons. One, because someone believed in us, right? And gave us that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Two, it's because we stood up for what we believed in, dude, and we fought for the opportunity. And they probably said in the back of their head, well, fuck them, dude. Fuck them. Let's give them this opportunity. And when they fail, we can say, see, told you, that's why you're going to wear the clown outfits, right? But we didn't. We fucking fought for it. And at some point in this world, in my lifetime, that became wrong. And it became people complaining.
I would argue it's perception versus reality. It's wrong on Twitter. 27% of Americans are on Twitter, and those people, about 5% of us are on there a lot. But the reality is people who stand up for themselves go out on TV or go out on Revolution after a 2-month absence and get a roaring applause. That's the reality. The reality is people who stand up for themselves get a booking in Philadelphia, and to their surprise, have a line around all the other tables to go sign with them. So I wouldn't, say that it's wrong. I would say in certain areas it's wrong, but the reality shows people are connecting to that because you guys aren't gimmicks. You guys aren't like, these characters people are like, oh, they're fun and we like them. They're connecting to the real people. And I think that's why people are coming up to you, Dax Harwood, and crying when they meet you.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I appreciate you saying all that stuff because it does, like I said yesterday, and the Revolution reaction that we got all puts things in perspective. But I want the fans to understand this, right? These journalists, Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, even guys like Sean Sapp, who I do have a little bit of respect for, right? But all these journalists who are telling you a story, right? They're telling you a story from their living room or from their studio or wherever it is they record their fucking gimmicks from. They're not in the locker room. The people that are telling them,
right,
they're the ones who are spinning the story. These people don't see it firsthand. They don't know if I've complained. They don't know what happened with CM Punk and the Elite. They don't really know, right? They know what they've been told for everything. And I'm not just saying those two instances. I'm saying for everything.
Sure.
They only know what they've been told. And the people that tell them are the exact same people that tell them everything all the time. And they tell them that with their own agenda in mind. Right. So,
or just a bias. Like if
Right.
I had a news site and I had to put news out on Dax Harwood, do you think even if I try to do my best to be honest, I would not try to make my friend look as good as he could? Like these are people with relationships with people who are friends with people. I'm talking about the journalists. They're friends with some of the wrestlers and if like legit relationships. And so how can you really expect, not to take with a grain of salt some of the stories because they're about their friends, just like if I wrote about you.
Right. Absolutely. And whenever we started the podcast and Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez were saying, oh, everybody is pissed off at Dax. Everybody is so mad at Dax. Do you know why they said that? Because I know for 100% fact who told them, and I know why they said that. Because one individual, and I'm sure there were people upset. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying one individual, and I know this because the locker room told me, one individual went into the locker room and openly said, I can't believe he's talking about that. I can't believe he's saying that. I can't believe he's doing that. That same individual went to the dirt sheets, and I know it for a fact, went to the dirt sheets and said, I can't believe he's saying that. Everybody is upset with him because they want that narrative out there, right? And it's probably, I guarantee you the person that I'm talking about is not the person or people you guys think that I'm talking about.
Right.
But what I'm saying is make your own assumption. how, like, come meet, like, again, like you said, come meet us at a convention or whatever, and make your own assumption. Don't do it through a dirt sheet or whatever perception you want to get from a journalist, because I'm telling you right now that my quote unquote complaining is coming from a place of passion, because I want FTR to be the best they possibly be. But above FTR, I want professional wrestling to be the best it possibly could be. And now I'll get off my soapbox from that. I hope the fans either listened to it and appreciated what I said, or just fucking fast forwarded through this.
One thing I liked about seeing that signing was seeing, man, there was a few years ago where all I saw at wrestling conventions were Bullet Club t-shirts and Bruce Pritchard t-shirts, and it's so cool to see our t-shirts, your t-shirts from the podcast out in the wild. Guys, we have a lot of fun designs, and it's made by a fella named The Fight Boys. You can follow him on Twitter with the boys with a Z, and we have some fun designs. The newest one says FTR Dax is FTR Bald is my homeboy. Yeah, we've got a short muffin top shirt. We've got a moderate poor shirt now out, and of course the one that everybody loves, which is the Day of the Dead tequila bottle shirt. I saw mostly those out there, but we also have a great new sponsor that ties in really great. I don't know why they should be a sponsor. I think they should be a sponsor forever, because if there's one thing we're known for, you're known for, I'm definitely not, is that nice thing behind you, your outline of your head and that mustache, because Manscaped, guys, is now moving north and is now working on has a products for your face, not just your balls, and it's called the Beard Hedger. It is some pretty cool stuff. Dax, have you used yours yet? I got mine, and honestly, it's the easiest one I've ever used ever. Dude,
I've used it. I've used everything they've sent me. The fucking nose clipper gimmicks, I've used them. The ball clipper gimmicks, used them. The new beard trimmer gimmicks, used it. And I've also bought one for my wife's father-in-law, I guess, and for our neighbors. Our neighbors are so incredible. But I bought our neighbor one too, along with the shampoo, the conditioner, the leave-in conditioner, and the styling gimmick too. So this is one of my favorite sponsors we have, because I'm allowed, with what they have provided me with, I'm allowed to take care of the shitty mustache and make sure it's not too shitty, but shitty enough to stick with the gimmick, if you know what I mean. But yeah, dude, I use the weed whacker for my face, and I know the weed whacker goes for your balls, but I go from head to toe, so don't worry, I'm not cross-contaminating here. But I use it for my face because I hate using a blade on my face, dude. I hate using that.
Me too.
I like to have a little bit of stubble. Plus, Miss Maria loves a little bit of that stubble too. If it tickles her a little bit, you know what I'm saying, head to toe. But Manscaped just makes it so easy for me. And make it so easy for me. Their products are top of the line products. The new beard trimmer thing, the new beard trimmer gimmick, the head stays on, and all you
it's the best one I've ever used. Best one I've ever used. Yeah,
all you have to do is turn the dial, and it's right there, right? And it doesn't matter how hard you push on the gimmick, it's not going to leave the setting you have. And that's my favorite thing about it. There's been so many times where I've been trimming my mustache with a shitty beard trimmer, and the head just drops down, and I shave my mustache too low. This makes it avoidable.
And the other thing about it is that it's got that little guard on it. So like if you go in the wrong direction, it doesn't shave your face off. They've really thought a lot about this. Gentlemen, it's called the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. It's the ultimate package that makes it easier than ever to craft your signature look. We talked about the Beard Hedger. It's an elite hedger. It's the best one I've ever used. And they charge with USB. There's 20 different hair cutting lengths, but it also comes with, and I've used all of these now, the beard shampoo and conditioner, the beard oil, and the beard balm. It comes with a really great comb. It comes with a brush. I'm not even reading now because I I love this stuff. And also, don't, like Dax said, the brand new Weed Whacker 2.0, which is really what put Manscaped, on the map. It offers improved blades and skin-safe technology with a no-tugging guarantee. It's never been so painless to mind your manholes. Okay, I did read that. Now that now that your face is looking great, you must try Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0 for the full body grooming experience. Man, I got to tell you, my bathroom is completely full of awesome things that I use every day because we all want to feel good. So get 20% off, guys. Order it today. Manscaped, we love these products. Get 20% off and free shipping with our code FTR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Go ahead, use our code FTR. We want them to sponsor us forever. Always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And Dax Harwood, I believe it is now time for the tequila of the week.
Yes, I came down here drinking a cup of coffee because I was so exhausted from the all-day travel yesterday, and that's why I got on my soapbox of passion earlier. Now I need to take something to calm me down a little bit, and I can't wait. I cannot wait because today, what we're going to try, I haven't even used this one yet. I've had Fortaleza before. I've had Fortaleza Reposado before. Fortaleza in the tequila community is regarded as the top. There is when you think about tequila, what it should taste like, how it's made, Fortaleza is the top of the line, and you can ask any tequila expert on Tequila Matchmaker, on their app, Tequila Matchmaker. This is rated at a 90, which is incredible. It's rated at a 90 from the panel. It's also rated at a 90 from the whole community. Fortaleza it's just, I can't speak enough about it. Top of the line. I'm going to go ahead and pour it right now because, like I said, I haven't even opened this yet, but I'm going to let it breathe a little bit while I talk some about it. Natural cork too, which is
man, I love how excited you get for tequila, and you kind of buried the lead a little bit. There's an app called Matchmaker, Tequila Matchmaker, you said, which sounds a lot like kind of Rotten Tomatoes for tequilas. Like it kind of rates them, and there's fan ratings, and there's matches you to what you like.
Right. The only difference is Rotten Tomatoes has now become like the Dave Meltzer of movies.
A little bit, yeah.
Tequila Matchmaker, not yet. But dude, Fortaleza, it's very hard to find. I've got my good buddy. He makes a lot of the FTR all over print. Jared, he from Funky Hippo, he has hooked me up with 4 bottles of Fortaleza Reposado, 2 bottles of Fortaleza Blanco, and it's just so hard to find nowadays, dude, because everybody wants it. They use deep well water. There's 140 years of history within the family of Fortaleza, so they've got it down pat, dude. Wood fermentation tanks, 100% agave, 100% additive free as well. Copper pot distilling, crushed classically with a Tahona, and a Tahona is not steel. What am I trying to say here? Like a rock wheel.
Right.
It's like
a grindstone.
Yes. And what they do is they put all the cooked agave down in this little pit, right? A circular pit, and they allow the Tahona to go around to extract all the juices from the agave. They also cook the agaves in brick ovens, which are known to ferment the flavor the best. Like I said, zero additives. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the glass is hand-blown glass, which is so beautiful, dude. But it makes traveling a little hard with it because it can break pretty easily. But hand-blown glass. And also, every Fortaleza tequila, there we go, I can't think of the word, has its own lot. This one is lot number 138-B. And the thing with the lot numbers, and the reason that's important, is because the lot numbers, it's a smaller batch. They're smaller batch made. All their all their tequilas are small batch made. So you're not going to get the exact same taste from every single bottle or every single purchase you make, because you're probably going to have a different lot number. So this lot number may be different and taste a little different, maybe have a couple of different aromas as well than another lot number that I have. Because the distillers at Fortaleza, they are using the agaves they have available at the time. They don't just use, they don't mass produce these agaves and
Right.
get them before they're ripe. They use the agaves they have available at the time, and they make small batch tequila, which is incredible. Anyway, I'll stop talking now. I've let this rest a little bit, let it get some air to it, and we will go with the aromas right now, and I can't wait. So let's see. Oh, God. Yes. The very first thing, cooked agave.
He hasn't even
Cooked
tasted
agave.
it yet. He's smelling
No.
it, folks.
The very first smell is that cooked agave, followed right by with black pepper. I can smell citrus, but before the citrus is a little like earthiness or some like minerality or something. Yeah, dude, this is clean. This smells clean. And now what we'll do, and if we're watching again on YouTube, I'll show you the legs and the viscosity of this. Again, no additives, so it's not glycerin or anything to help with that.
And there you go. There's a close-up shot of it. It's not like water in there. It's definitely thicker and definitely hanging on to it. So taking a taste.
We'll get a little taste now.
Yep.
First taste, we're going to let it coat the mouth a little bit. Oh my God. Get the mouth and the tongue and the lips acclimated to the alcohol content, which is 40% ABV. But we're also going to let it get acclimated to the actual tequila too. And now we'll take our second sip, and I will give you an honest review. Again, like I said, the first time I've ever tasted it right now.
Dax loves his tequila. So take a second sip.
So easy, dude. So easy. The number one Blanco I've ever tried. The best Blanco I've ever tried. Agave just hits me right in the mouth. Nails me right in the mouth. Speaking of nailing right in the mouth, we got a Blue Chew ad maybe. Cooked agave. That pepper doesn't come through as much as I thought it was going to, but I can still taste it. Before the pepper is like an olivey taste. Yeah, man, this is good. Olives and citrus. The pepper's there, but it's not as forward as I thought it was going to be. And earthiness. And that earthiness comes from the Tahona crushed agaves. Because like I said, they're in the dirt. They're getting crushed by that Tahona, and that's the earthiness. My God, man. I'm going to have to go with Tequila Matchmaker. And it's going to be, as for a Blanco,
I mean, you said it's the best Blanco ever. That makes it a 10, right?
the best absolute Blanco. No, I wouldn't say a 10. But the best Blanco I've ever tasted. I'm gonna give it a 9.4, dude. That's real good stuff.
That is
Really good stuff.
9.4. One more time. Tell us, as you take another sip, you love that tequila. Tell us the name of the brand one more time, Dax Harwood.
It is Fortaleza. And Fortaleza is a lot easier to find. Here's the bottle. Please look on YouTube. Fortaleza is a lot easier to find in California than it is in North Carolina. So if anybody coming out to the LA show can find Fortaleza, bring it to me, please. I'm begging of you. We're going to have that VIP meet and greet, but it's not really going to be a meet and greet at our production meeting. I said I want it to be like friends at a bar, and we're all just hanging out, having fun, talking, and drinking. Yes. So if you find Fortaleza in California, please grab me a bottle. If I got to, I'll PayPal you the money. But this is the best, top of the line.
Well, that is the tequila of the week, Fortaleza Blanco. Dax Harwood. We're going to talk about our March Madness in just a little bit, but I think let's get to the topic at hand, and we're going to talk about today the game himself from his beginnings terrorizing all the way through where he is now, running the WWE, and your relationships with him. Of course, we're talking about Paul Levesque, known as the Game, Triple H. Why was this a topic that interested you?
Well, because we've all heard about Hunter as a wrestler, and everyone can formulate an opinion of what they think of him as a wrestler and what he's done in the business. But he's someone who changed the trajectory of my career, Cash's career, and he did it by being a boss first, being a mentor second. And I learned, I've said it before, we were never Hunter guys, and I'll hold to that until, the day we retire, but we were not Hunter guys.
And that means you never considered yourself one of his favorites, right?
Right. Yes. No. So no, let me put a little correction on that.
Yeah, because I'm unclear what that means. 100%.
Yeah. Not one of his favorites. I do believe that we were one of his favorites, skill wise, talent wise. I think we were, but we weren't one of the guys I think he wanted to build the company around or the brand around. I think he understood what we offered. I think he understood how this is egotistical, but how good we were in the ring, the stories we could tell. And I think he knew that we could be a piece to the puzzle, but I don't think he wanted us to be the whole puzzle. Like, he loved Gargano and he loved Ciampa. He loved those guys. He loved Fergal. And those were his guys. So when I say we weren't his guys, it's not that he wasn't a fan of ours or we weren't any of his favorite in-ring guys. It just, we weren't the guys that I think he wanted to build the company around. Like I said before, Ciampa had
his number.
We were out for a couple of weeks. Both of us got injured. Well, I had surgery and Ciampa was just a little banged up, and Hunter would call or text him and ask, how are things going? I had surgery and I'm sitting at home and I'm trying to rush back because we got to come back to drop the belts to Gargano and Ciampa. And I heard nothing, you know what I mean? So we weren't Hunter guys, and I don't hold any ill feelings towards him because of that. We just weren't. But I do think that he was a fan of our work. I know he was. He told us. And I think that he was a fan of us as talents, just not who he necessarily wanted to build the company around.
Let's take you back to the beginning of your first interaction of type with Triple H. Were you like me? Did you see him the first time in WCW? Was that the first time you ever saw him, or did you see that later?
No. I saw him in WCW, but not as terrorizing, though. I don't remember that. I remember him with Lord Steven Regal. Right. I remember them as the Blue Bloods. They were a tag team. Yeah. And he was John Paul Levesque, I think, or something like that. That's the first time I remember seeing him. And then he moved to WWF and had the exact same kind of aristocrat gimmick there as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, obviously. And, that's the first memories I have of him as a wrestler.
As far as a wrestler goes, of course, he put the sports entertainment thing together for sure, as DX. But before that, as a wrestler, he seems a little bit more kind of Brett than Shawn in a way. Was he a wrestler that you watched? You're like, and I just remember watching him and just watching him get bigger every week in WWE. But at the same time, he must have been someone you looked at, go, wow, that young guy's got some cool stuff going on. Yeah.
So in 96 and 97, I never really paid attention to his work as much as I did like a Brett, even a Shawn, Benoit or Malenko or Guerrero. For some reason as a kid, that's what I was drawn to. I loved that. I loved that hard hitting work. But I never, as a wrestler, I never was drawn to him that way. Like I said, 96, 97. I remember him being the Intercontinental Champion, and he was working with Mark Mero.
Mero.
And I remember there was going to be a Triple H versus Mr. Perfect match on Raw, and I was so excited because Perfect was coming back, and then there was a big swerve, and Perfect went with Hunter. And character things are the things I remember the most about him, because of the aristocrat gimmick, coming out with a different beautiful woman every week.
Right. Launch Sable.
Yeah, for sure. And those are the things I remember, and those are the things I was drawn to Hunter, and not so much as a wrestler then. I still think in 96-ish, Hunter was probably still pretty green, or at least trying to figure out what kind of wrestler he was, you know what I mean? Or who he was in the ring.
Right.
But yeah, more than anything, I think I was drawn to his persona and his gimmick and the vignettes and stuff they gave him.
So, of course, Hunter goes on to be in DX, but before that, there's the big moment at Madison Square Garden, the curtain call. Everybody breaks character to say goodbye to their friends. 2 questions. Number one, a lot of old school people look at that and go, man, that was not cool. But so I want to know what you think of it. But number 2, as someone who was really treated like the scapegoat for that, he was treated, he lost the King of the Ring. He was supposed to win King of the Ring, and he was punished. How much do you think the way he was treated informed the way that he was as a boss? Like, maybe in his head, he was thinking, I'll never treat anybody the way I was treated. Do you think that informed him as a boss?
I never thought about that until right now, and that's a great point. Maybe so, dude. I don't know. I think that at the time, Hunter was just following, his friends, and his friends were the biggest stars in the wrestling business. At least,
can't punish any of them,
Right. But if that's what they wanted to do, then obviously they had like some sort of okay from somebody to get it done. And so I could see that being the case. Yeah. When I saw it as a kid, because they showed the footage on Raw, even as a kid, I never thought anything. I never thought like, oh my God, these guys are, this is fake, or they're going against what I would have, I don't know what it would have called it then, but kayfabe or whatever. I never thought that. I just remember thinking, oh, they're just, they just are respectful of each other, and they were friends at one time, and now they're just saying their goodbyes. That's kind of what I saw. But yeah, I could see that being a factor for Hunter. He probably had to put up with a lot of shit, and maybe thought that I'm not going to treat them that way.
Right. Like, I would hope so. Now, of course, Hunter does the whole DX thing. We've talked a little bit about them. And then he goes on to be Triple H, the number 1 guy, because of these matches with Mick Foley. We haven't talked much about Mick Foley, but as an adult, he's probably my favorite wrestler. And I may, in fact, have in my possession the sweatpants that were speared by Edge into a flaming table. Wow. Mick Foley's my guy. I like him. How important do you think those matches were to establish Triple H?
Oh my God, dude. So incredible. I go back and watch the Royal Rumble match all the time.
It's so good, dude. It's so goddamn good.
The Hell in a Cell from what February pay-per-view was that? I can't remember. Maybe.
Is it No Way Out?
No Way Out or something.
Yeah.
Incredible match too. I think that Foley is probably, along with Brett, the most underrated seller of all time, because, and maybe even more than Brett, because you never knew when he was actually hurt or when he was selling. And I think that's what tied into why people care about him. They don't listen. The people did not care about his elbow drop off the apron. You know what I'm saying? To the floor. They didn't care about that. Right. To be honest, they didn't even care about the fucking mandible claw or Mr. Sacco. Maybe they did care about Mr. Sacco, but the mandible claw or the running knee in the corner, they didn't care about that. Those were just moves to tie into his character. They cared about him and his well-being. That's why they couldn't keep him heel, That's why he couldn't be a heel, because people felt so much sympathy for him because they didn't know. They didn't know when he was working and when he was really hurt. And I think that is the true definition of a magician, the true definition of a professional and an artist, dude, is someone who can make you for 1 second think, oh my God, is he really hurt? He's incredible.
Foley is just the best. And because of those matches with Foley, Triple H is now seen as a guy who's gone through the rigors, a lot like when Michael Jordan got through the Detroit Pistons, in the Boston Celtics. Same deal, right? And so now Triple H is the top of the company, and some criticisms, which is why people were so surprised he was so good at NXT. Some criticisms of him as a top talent. You think about the RVD feud, where it seemed like RVD was going to beat him. That it looked every time I've watched wrestling in my life, it led to that. Not to mention the very regrettable Booker T promo, and then also taking approximately 7 years to pin Booker T after giving him the pedigree. What do you think about the criticisms of Triple H as a selfish performer?
Well, I wasn't there for any of it, but there's so many. It's almost like Shawn, right? Where if you ask Shawn now, he'll say, all these people said I was the reason their career didn't go anywhere, or I buried them, or I was the reason they got fired. But that wasn't me. That had nothing to do. I couldn't have gotten them fired. But dude, there's so many stories out there about them. Then how can you believe one person and not believe all the other stories? And maybe that's what it is with Hunter too. There's so many stories out there. How can you not believe all of them? But then on the flip side of that, you think about wrestling and wrestlers are the most insecure human beings on the planet. So they want to find a place to put blame. I can tell you for 100% fact, and it's being shown right now, that whatever Vince wants in the company, it's going to happen. So if Vince wanted Booker to get beat, Booker's going to get beat. And who knows, leading up to the day of Mania, Booker could have been penciled in as the winner. And then Vince right before said, oh, no, I changed my mind. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't even formulate an opinion. Oh, I can formulate an opinion, but it's not going to be an accurate opinion. It's just going to be my opinion. Right. But what I can say is that I'm sure Hunter, just like most wrestlers, probably did politic to make sure that he looked as fresh as he possibly could. But at the end of the day, we're going to do what Vince wants to do. If Vince didn't want RVD to beat Hunter for the world belt, that's not going to happen.
Right.
I think, I think that, like, for example, the Booker T story, Booker T could have been made at Mania. Imagine, he's a huge star now, right? One of the best in-ring talents of all time. But imagine how much bigger and how much bigger, also how much faster he would have rose to stardom if he would have won the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania after that story, right? So, in saying that, I think Booker should have won, but ultimately it was not up to Triple H who went over and who didn't go over.
Right, because, try to sit there and convince Vince of something else that he wants to do,
I did that so many times.
Right.
I did that so many times. Didn't work.
He's got that, it's an unfair assessment of Triple H unless you believe Triple H had the power to do it. So, of course, time goes by. Triple H becomes a legacy figure. And then suddenly we hear he's starting to rise up in the company. He's starting to get power. Of course, he's married to Stephanie McMahon, but he starts working with developmental, shows a real interest, shows a real capacity for it. Dax Harwood, you're a young wrestler. You're getting signed to NXT. You get in the ring with Cash for the first time for William Regal, and you get a contract eventually from NXT. When is the first time that you meet Triple H?
Man, I would have I met him at the. Oh man, God! There was a at FCW. There was a. It was like they wanted to show. They were putting on like a show just for The Office, basically. and Hunter was there, Undertaker was there, Pat Patterson, and a few other Gerald Briscoe, Jim Ross. They were all there, and they wanted to see the guys they were going to potentially bring to the main roster very soon, and they asked me to work with Brody Lee, and I worked with Brody Lee and made him look. Well, I didn't make him look good. He made himself look good, but I was there to make him look good. And Hunter was there, and that was the first time I really had interaction with Hunter.
I would assume, like, the criticisms of a Hunter being selfish and all that, but the other thing is, I don't know, you know the match, but I bet he appreciates someone who can make someone look good, because a lot of people forget he was the sacrificial lamb when the Ultimate Warrior was brought back. And if you ever seen that match, you want to talk about a guy who had a name making somebody look good. Triple H knew how to do it. So I bet he had appreciation for you just making Brody Lee look good.
Yeah, I think so. I think he had appreciation for any, carpenter, handyman, whatever you want to call him, in the business, to make people look good, because, that was, he had a gimmick and he had a personality, but for a little while, that was kind of his job in WWE. I mean, you said it with the Warrior, but he also did it with like Henry Godwin.
Right.
He did it with Mark Marrow as well, until they realized, I think, that the Wild Man character wasn't really working. He was in that same spot for a little bit. And I think he has an appreciation for a worker's worker.
And so you meet him, you're with NXT. Let's say you're there for a week or two and you're doing the daily schedule there. What is Triple H's role at that point? I guess it's still FCW.
Yes, it was FCW. Nothing. He was rarely there. Bill DeMott was running it at the time, who had just taken over from Tom Pritchard under some shady circumstances, from what I understand. But he, it was just he was just there for the NXT TV tapings, and that was the only time I really saw him. He wasn't there for the day-to-day operations. He allowed his team that he had formulated, which was DeMott, Norman Smiley, Joey Mercury, Dusty, and Ricky Steamboat at the time. They were the ones who would report back to him.
And what were your interactions like with him at all during the pre-revival days? Did you have any?
No, none at all. Only because, again, like I said, the only time we ever saw him was at television.
Right.
I might, if we passed by, I would say hello. But, then in 2012, I was still very nervous, very, very nervous. But
you're just shaking hands and moving on, huh?
Right. Yeah. And also Hunter was super hands-on with the television. And so he was busy because he was producing 4 weeks of television in that one taping. And so, there wasn't very much interaction with him there.
As it becomes NXT, as it becomes television, as Revival become a thing, how do the interactions with Triple H increase, or at all, as even you rise to the tag team titles there?
Yeah, so Dan Cash came in 2014. We started teaming up immediately as soon as I was cleared from ACL tear, and we started teaming up. Hunter wanted to, like I said, they had pitched when Cash came on. They immediately pitched us as a tag team. Hunter wanted to see photos of us, which I will send to you and we can put up on our Twitter. But he wanted to see photos of us together before we even had a match. So we had to have gear quickly made. He wanted to see photos there. So we did that, and we became a team that worked, strictly on the live events. We worked on all the live events to try to get things down pat, to show if we were good, if we had chemistry, if we could be a future fixture on the television show.
Right.
And, even though there were no plans for us, and we were still looked at as guys who just made people look good. I remember they did another show, kind of like they did what I was telling you in FCW, where it was just for the office to see some of the next talent. And they put us with Buddy Murphy and
Blake.
Buddy Murphy and Blake. Yeah, Wesley Blake. And we had worked with those guys in the house shows, and I wish those matches were on YouTube because I would say they rivaled the American Alpha matches. But they wanted to see how well Buddy and Blake and Alexa Bliss worked together because I think they were going to get the tag titles next, and we were put with them to put those guys over and make them look good, and that's what we did. And that was our we did the same thing for the Vaudevillains at I think a Dark Television, and then Mojo and Bull Dempsey, which we've talked about before. So that was that's why I'm telling you, we were never, and some people may disagree, but I'm telling you from the inside, we were not Hunter guys. We, as far as who he wanted to build the company around, we were guys who could make everybody else look good because we were good. So going up until the Dusty Classic, that's all we were. We were just there to make the guys he thought he could build the company around to make them look good.
It's fair to say that those guys or you guys had to prove yourselves more often. Like they bring you up or they say, hey, make this guy look good, make these guys look good, make those guys look good. At a certain point, it flipped over. You guys broke through the looking glass into someone that they cared about and someone that they wanted to have the tag team titles. You're describing a situation where Hunter is overseeing a team, where he is involved in the TV, where he is giving advice here and there. But as you get to be the Revival, the tag team champions, what kind of feedback, what kind of interactions do you have with Hunter at that point?
So, yeah, just like you said, Hunter was like the manager of a sports team, right? And Matt Bloom was the head coach of the sports team. And that's kind of how it was. So obviously we had a lot more interactions with Matt than we did Hunter. And we owe I tell him all the time, dude. And he doesn't, like, I just talked to him the other day and I told him, like, all this stuff that we have, all the opportunities we have, we really do owe a lot of it to you. And I don't think he understands how much we owe to him because he put us in a lot of positions to be looked at and to be respected, But going into the tag title scene, I remember things started changing on the way to the Dusty Classic. We were getting good reports on the house shows because, like I said, we were working with Blake and Murphy, but also we were working with, at the time, an early iteration. I don't think they had the name. I think they were God dang, what were their name? I can't remember what it was. It was something like Team Shoot or something like that. Somebody asked Chad Gable, he'll tell you, but it was Gable, Dawkins, Sawyer Fulton, Jason Jordan, and maybe one other guy, I can't remember, but they were a team of shoot wrestlers, quote unquote.
Right.
And so we were working with Gable and Jordan as well as Fulton and Dawkins on a lot of the house shows, and we were getting good marks for that on the reports. Whoever we were working with, we were going 15, 20, 30 minutes, and we were having the best match of the night, tearing the house down. So I think through those reports is where Hunter was like, okay, well, let's give him a shot. So on the way to the Dusty Classic, we had a qualifying match with the tag team champions at the time, Gotch and Aiden English, and it was in Austin, Texas, I remember. And we tore probably up until that point, it was our best tag match we had ever had. Tore the fucking house down that night, dude. I think I still have that match secretly on my laptop, but it was such a great match. And we were going on to work with Fergal and Joe. And I think from that match in Austin and then going into the tournament without any selfish ambition from me and Cash, not trying to get anything in, we put Joe and Fergal over. And I think Baron Corbin and Rhino maybe were put over by American Alpha. And they saw those two matches, and that's when they're like, okay, these are the next two teams we want to push. Obviously, the biggest tag team attraction at the time was Enzo and Cass. But we then got the opportunity to wrestle Gotch and Aiden because we had beaten them in the tournament. Obviously, that was a non-title match. We won the belts there, biggest win of our career, and then we were off to the races.
Did you ever have any one-on-ones or two-on-ones with Triple H where he gave you a little advice or gave you a little fine-tuning, or we've seen a lot of footage like that, or was he pretty much hands-off with the Revival?
Up until the Enzo and Cass feud, we would talk to him, right? But there was no real advice given to us, one-on-one. It was more fed to the producers. Like, we worked with one of the smartest men in wrestling business, in the history of the wrestling business, Joey Mercury. We worked with him, and he was given ideas and stuff through Hunter. But after we won the belts and then we moved on to the feud with Enzo and Cass, that's when we started interacting with Hunter a lot on a weekly basis. I remember we did a deal where we attacked Cass on the way to the ring. I think we knocked Enzo off of the ramp, and then we beat the shit out of Cass, injured his leg, and I think that's when we hit the stomp from the middle rope when I had his legs figure forward. And Hunter gave us that move because initially we were going to attack him and injure his knee and use a chair and stuff. And Hunter said, yeah, and we'd got the okay from our producer at the time. And Hunter asked what we were going to do. We told him, and he said, I don't think we need to use a gimmick as far as a chair. He said, I think chairs are overused in wrestling. He said, why don't we introduce a new move for you guys? Right. And you can use that move in a match later on, and people will associate that move, will associate that move with you guys and associate it as dangerous. And then you can use it as a finish or a false finish later on down your career. And that's one of the little bits of knowledge that he dropped on us, probably without even thinking he was dropping on us. But yeah, dude, that was the first interaction. And then from there on, the whole Enzo and Cass feud we had with him, he was very hands-on because, again, we weren't his guys. Enzo and Cass were. I mean, right. He would tell us the reason you're in this feud is because we want to see if Enzo and Cass can draw money outside of being a comedy act, right? And he said, we want to see if they can produce a serious ass-kicking, money-drawing feud and not just reach a ceiling of being funny. And I took that with a badge of honor. I didn't take that any other way of like being upset. I took it with a badge of honor because he saddled us with the obligation of making sure these guys fought us and they were serious. And so, we had the match in London, and I loved that match so much, and it went all the way until Roadblock 2016, where we made our first main roster debut.
We're going to talk about the debut, and we're going to talk about, kind of the manner in which you talk to Triple H. But we have a brand new sponsor, and this sponsor is all about whipping up quality meals on a budget, because premium meals don't have to come at a premium price. This is a product that I used a lot during the quarantine, during the epidemic, and it was just like lifesaver in so many ways. I'm talking about Butcher's Box. Butcher's Box, man, I tell you, they send great meat to you. You order the meat, you have these packages, and just, I know from my own experience, you can get on there and you can customize your package to have whatever you want to have delivered whenever you want to have delivered. It's got quality ingredients at a great price. I really enjoy the Butcher Box. What did you think? We had talked, Dax Harwood and I, about Butcher Box this week, having nothing to do with the show. What do you think about your Butcher's Box?
Dude, I ordered the extra large package too. Speaking of extra large package, but it had quality meat in it. That was the thing. Like, it's easy to get these other services, and you get shipped a shit ton of meat, and the meat maybe not be the best quality in the world. Yep. This was. We've had the chicken thighs already, which were incredible, dude. So tender. We had the chicken tenders too, which were awesome. New York strip, and then tonight, I think if Maria feels like cooking, I can't ask her to, but I think tonight we're going to use the ground beef to make spaghetti. So it's, when I got the package, dude, I couldn't believe how much. When I got the package, I couldn't believe how much meat I had.
How much meat you were packing? They pack a lot of meat over at Butcher Box, I tell you.
Yes,
you know,
they
in
do.
the ground beef, I had it myself. It's better than, I mean, to me, it is better than ground beef that you get at the store that's not frozen, because it's grass fed and everything comes to you in this box and it's packed so great with the dry ice and everything. It's awesome, guys. I got the one with a lot of steaks. So I had the New York strip, and in the past I've had the fillets a lot, and I had the ground beef this week. I'm going to have it again tonight. And guys, if you have kids, especially, we all know kids like nuggets. You know, kids love some nuggets. So get free chicken nuggets for a year. That's free chicken nuggets, guys. And 10% off of your first box when you sign up today. That's a 22-ounce bag of gluten-free chicken nuggets in every order for a year. It's already worth it, guys. This makes it better. But you got to sign up at butcherbox.com/Dax and use code DAX. Claim this deal, which is free chicken nuggets for a year and 10% off at butcherbox.com/Dax, and use code DAX. And Dax, we were talking, or we were texting about it this week. Guys like you and me who came up a little bit, you know, maybe not always having the food we wanted all the time. It's crazy that we just talk about wrestling and people send us food, and not only that, great food. So it's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, and it's cool also that we're allowed to choose people as sponsors. We're allowed to, if you know, we get some things that we may not think are the best quality things or the best, you know, the best tasting or whatever. But it's cool that we get to choose our sponsors, and they trust us enough to send us stuff to try first to make sure that we actually can put our stamp of approval on it. The FTR with Dax stamp of approval, and Butcher's Box absolutely dude. But it's grade A quality beef, grade A quality chicken, and they are someone that I'm proud to have as a sponsor for us.
It's one of those things when we get asked, you know, we see a list and we see who we can sponsor us, and they said maybe Butcher's Box. I'm like, oh my God, Butcher Box, love Butcher Box. So very happy to have them on, guys. Use promo code DAX. You talked about Triple H having interactions with him. Man, he's a mystery to so many. So, and you've had interactions with him. So I'm just curious, like when you talk to him, is he a guy who walks over to you or a guy who beckons you over? Is he a guy that, how does he present ideas? Does he go, I've got an idea? Or does he say, what if, like Bruce Pritchard says? Or does he goes, hey guys, here's what needs to happen? What's his manner?
All of the above, I think. You know, if he feels strongly about something, then it's going to happen. If he has an idea, he'll let us know he has an idea, and we can all bounce, you know, our ideas off of him and figure out a good solution. Like, for example, the Brooklyn match, we were thinking of either using the Shadow Machine for a finish or a cheap win, because we knew that we were going to go forward with the feud. And he said, no, I think we need to have a submission tonight. And at first, none of us thought that was the right thing to do. But once he explained it and the execution of it, it made perfect sense. And now if you watch that match back, especially with hindsight in mind, you know, knowing that what's going to come and the 2 out of 3 falls, you had, as a fan, more sympathy for Johnny Gargano after he actually tapped out, you know, after he gave up, after he fought so valiantly for 25 minutes, and then he couldn't hold any longer. He had to give up. And that's the genius of Hunter, you know, come up with finishes. He's a great finish guy. And he's someone who worked directly under or with Pat Patterson. So he understands the nuances that. So, okay, real quick to explain it, we see today, and I've talked about it before, a lot of wrestlers today, AEW and WWE too, they work harder and more towards the false finishes than they do the actual finish. They love the reaction they get from the 1-2-0,
That's amazing.
the 1-2-0. You know what I mean? That's a built-in reaction. I wish they understood that, but they know it is a reaction they can get. 1-2-0, 1-2-0, and the finish happens 1-2-3. Yes, okay, fine. Instead of 1-2-3, fuck yeah, my guy won, or fuck him,
Right.
my guy lost. And that's what we got for the Gargano and Ciampa match. We could have probably come up with a higher paced or a faster paced, more involved sequence for the finish for that Brooklyn match, right? But he knew, and this is something, again, that I don't know if he consciously taught me, but this is something he taught me, was he knew that to slow it down to because we stomped on the leg, we chop blocked him, we stomped on the leg, then we locked him into submission, and he valiantly fought for a little while, and then he tapped out. But the people, we got over for winning and being shit heels, and they got over because the babyface valiantly kept fighting for them. He didn't give up for them, or he was trying to not give up for them, to the point where they're like, just fucking give up before you break your leg, right? And that's what gets you over. That may not get you a 5-star match, that's okay, but that makes these people feel a certain way about you. And after that match, I guarantee you they felt a certain way. They felt more for Johnny Gargano than they did going into it because of that finish. The match was incredible. The first 23 minutes of the match was incredible, but those last 2 minutes are what made him. They made us too, but that's what made him. And that's the genius of Hunter.
That's such a great point you make about more people putting so much effort and emphasis into the not finish than the real finish. It's like I mentor a lot of bands, and once they become bands, I've mentored bands. And one of my pet peeves is a band that plays original songs. So you guys at home, if you play in a band, and they have 1 or 2 covers, and they go crazy during the covers. And I'm like, why are you happier about your covers? There's a built-in response than the real payoff, which is your original songs. So I see it kind of the same way. That's a great point, Dex.
Yeah, as wrestlers, you got to understand, like, false finishes are important, right? But they're not more important than your finish.
Right.
And we've lost that somewhere along the line. We've lost that because we work for one guy, and most of them, not we, because I sure as hell don't. But
for years,
yeah, they've worked for one guy, and that one guy's recently is Dave Meltzer, and they tried to get his adulation. And if they can get that 5-star. If they can get that 5-star match or above nowadays, if they can get that, that's all they care about, dude. And that's it's a sad fact.
So completely off topic, but Regal kind of said the same thing, and I find it really strange. Do wrestlers that you know of really care about getting that 5-star match from Dave Meltzer?
God. Yes.
Is that's something they talk about? It's important to them.
Yes, I mean they talk about it all in the public. Like, for example, I heard Sammy Guevara say something on camera, and it's out there on YouTube. I don't know what it was, but he said something to the effect of, I should be getting the 5-star matches. I'm like, Dave Meltzer should be giving me the 5-star matches. And then, I talked to Britt about this before. She's a good friend of mine. So I love you, Britt. But Britt said something to the effect of, after her match, I think, with Thunder Rosa, and she was bleeding, and they were following her backstage with the camera. She said, well, maybe I can finally get that 5-star match from Dave. And I'm like, no, God, no, guys. That's not it. That's not who we're working for. We're not working for him. For example, my daughter will be 9 years old in just a few weeks. Do you think she has the same appreciation for the type of wrestling that Meltzer does?
Right.
No. But do you think a 9-year-old girl or a 9-year-old boy who is going to tune in, who is going to buy the ticket, who is going to buy the merch? Not Dave. She is. You know what I'm saying? That's who we're selling to. Them. We're selling to an audience. We're making them feel a certain way, and they don't feel a certain way about and I'm not saying don't do this, and I'm not saying it's not important. Moves are important. They are important, but they don't feel about a 450 splash. They don't feel about it. They feel about for example, and this is me putting us over, I guess, but they feel about Cash missing that 450 splash. The regretment, is that a word? The regretting
It is
later
now.
on, regretting trying that move. You know what I'm saying? Trying that move. That's my, again, soapbox thing on that. But let's get back to Hunter.
Yeah, it looks like, guys, we might have to push the March Madness to next week because we still have a lot to talk about, and we're not going to go too late today. But I do want to talk about Triple H the Booker, because that's something you dealt with. And also, you're someone who watches wrestling history. Would you put, I mean, is Triple H NXT Black and Gold era, is he one of the greatest bookers of all time?
God dang. That's a loaded statement, dude. I can't say that. I mean, you got Eddie Graham, you got Ernie Ladd in Mid-South, Bill Dundee in Tennessee. You got Dusty too, and
You got
Jerry
Ken
Jarrett.
Mantell in World Class, and there's
there's a lot of great bookers. So I don't know. I will say, in the modern era of wrestling, in the last 10 years, he's definitely got to be up there because that Black and Gold era did produce great matches, but they knew when to make the great matches and why to make the great matches and how to build to the great matches. They didn't just have great matches just to have great matches. Again, my daughter doesn't have the same appreciation for Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 that I have, right? But if she watches
that Bailey character in NXT,
if she watches if she watches Bailey, even now, if she watches,
she's
for
so
example,
good.
Bailey, but also in AEW, she cares about Willow Nightingale because she thinks she's so nice, and she thinks that's the kind of person she could associate herself with, so that's the difference. That's the difference. Like, I understand wanting to have a great match, but I'll just put okay, we'll go back to what Hunter was a great booker, and he knew how to book two great matches to make them mean something besides just being a great match.
Yeah, that was the thing with NXT 1.0 or Black and Gold, is that the great matches were icing on the cake. And they were icing on the cake that made it even more special. Like the fact that, that we had great matches too was amazing. You had people like Bailey, you had people like American Alpha, you had a lot of acts being promoted to WWE. And a lot of times they were presented like, hey, look who's here. But they didn't do the same work to kind of get them over on the main roster. There was a time where there was talk people would just be happy to stay in NXT. Was there talk about how their characters would be presented on the main roster? Are people worried about that kind of thing because of the booking up there versus the booking and character down in Florida?
I don't think at that time, no. I don't think so. I don't think there had been enough, NXT really took off in 2015, then even more in 2016, right? So by this time in 2016, there hadn't been enough people to move up to main roster and not really achieve the success they had achieved in NXT for us to formulate an opinion. I think we were all still working for that, trying to get there. But I think ultimately at the time, what we were working for was just to make NXT as good as as good of a brand as we could, because we wanted NXT to rival Raw and SmackDown. We wanted people to think of us as good as them. So when we did move up or, move on to Raw and SmackDown, people could put us on the same wavelength as the people they perceived to be stars.
And Triple H took this responsibility he had, which is developmental. Before you know it, TV, you need to practice production too. So that's a whole wing of it. But then these live shows, it completely was a runaway success. I can't even imagine they thought it would have the impact that it would. Triple H as you said, is in charge of a team. Like in the book Good to Great, I think it's by Stephen Collins, he talks about putting the right people in the right seats on the bus. Is that the talent of Triple H? Is that he knows where to put everybody, whether it is on a card, whether it is in the front office, whether it is as coaches? Is that his talent, is assembling a team?
I'll answer your question after we do this. Guys, WWE's Chad Gable just texted me, right? And so I want to take a picture real quick as we're filming this.
Let's do it.
Let him know. Just so he knows that I'm still a big deal and that I can make or break his career if I ever wanted to.
Well, he's still looking for Otis. Otis is missing, and he's looking for him. That's what's going on.
I hope soon he's going to be looking for never mind. No, let's don't say that. I was going to say I hope he's looking for a match with me, but people are going to they'll be taking that to the dirt sheets. Anyway, back to Hunter, which we've said about 4 times today. Yes, he understood to give people the opportunity to play their part on the team, whether it was Norman Smiley who had the patience, but also obviously the fucking God-given talent to build these wrestlers from scratch, because he was, he was hiring independent talent. He was hiring people who had been wrestling for years, but he's also hiring people who were former football players and former basketball players or amateur wrestlers. And Norman was tasked with the responsibility of teaching these guys from the ground up. The wrestling business, the maneuvers, the storytelling from the ground up. So Norman was in place for that. And then you had, like I've said before, Matt Bloom as the head coach, overseeing everything, making the plays, making the calls. And Bloom, the greatest boss I've ever worked for. Dude, listen to me. I've worked on a shit truck before. I've worked at Taco Bell. I've been a bagger. I've worked at a nightclub as a DJ for 5 years. I've been a bouncer. I've been a manager at a vitamin store. I've done every job in between you can think of just to make ends meet. And I've worked for every type of boss in the world. Nobody is a better leader than Matt Bloom. I say that with all of my heart and all of my soul out there. Nobody is a better leader than him. He gives you the opportunities to succeed, and you either take that opportunity and you work your ass off to make it, or you squander that opportunity and, maybe he won't give you the chance again. He's the best leader I've ever worked for in my whole life. But then, you had Hunter also put Terry Taylor in there as the finishing coach, because he knew Terry Taylor, regardless how I feel or how he and I feel about each other personally, he knows what the fuck he's talking about when it comes to wrestling. And He knows what he's talking about when it comes to selling and storytelling, and when to fire up as a baby face and when to settle it back down too. And then we got Robbie. Robbie came in and he was there to help people understand catch as catch can wrestling, the importance of holds, the importance of maneuvers, and the importance of the tightness of your work, no holes in your work. There was just so many people, great people.
You also had Regal there too.
Well, yes, but Regal came along a little bit later. But I could tell you all the great things about Regal, but there's plenty of things out there that people know already about him. When he was the AW, he and I would watch wrestling together. I'd pull him to the side at TVs and ask him to watch my match with Claudio, or our tag match with oh my God. Sorry, now I fucked up. But my match with Adam Cole, he watched that. My match with Will Ospreay, asked him to watch that. Asked him to watch all those, and I picked his brain. And that's that's one of the things I'm going to miss, is that I was able to pick his brain and figure out what he was thinking and the differences he would have implored in his matches. But that's what he brought to NXT as well. But yes, everybody was in the right place.
Sounds like just the perfect team. It just sounds like the guy, knew what he was doing and just went all in, and it was a runaway success. Of course, the Revival under the watchful eye of Triple H, they ascend, And, you know, it's time. You're moving up to WWE. We're going to do a whole episode on your promotion. But was he the one who told you, hey, guys, it's time? Talk about that moment a little bit.
No, it wasn't. Dude, the day, and, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about this later, like you said, but the day that we got called up to the main roster, Cash and myself were in the Performance Center. At this time, they had allowed people to purchase tickets to come to the Performance Center and see what the Performance Center was all about. And we were, I can't remember what they called those days, but we were having one of those days there. The day of our debut, Cash and I were in the ring blowing up, doing blow up drills. Not for hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours. We were blowing up, running the ropes, jumping outside, coming in, running high spots, boom, 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 taking bumps, backdrops into arm drags and hip tosses, and showing these people who were like filtering through what the Performance Center was all about and how they were teaching the next crop of wrestlers. Right before they had stopped this, right before they had stopped that session, Matt Bloom came to us. He said, Dawson, Dash, come here. We hopped out the ring, covered in sweat, dude, covered in sweat, out of breath, bumping our asses off, running our asses off. And he said, I need you guys to run upstairs real quick, get showered up, change, and go to, because Raw was in Orlando. And he said, go to Raw. And we were like, oh, he didn't really say you're debuting, but we kind of had an idea because it was the day after Mania. And so we did. We ran upstairs, changed our clothes. We ran upstairs, took a shower, changing our clothes, ran to our house, got a suit, we put our suit on, went to Raw, and Hunter told us what was going to happen. And, that was it.
And believe it or not, like every other story you say, I was there. I was there when you debuted. But yeah, isn't that crazy? You know, Matthew and I went to a lot of wrestling. Yeah, that was and we knew who the Revival was. You said he told you what was going down. What else do you remember with that conversation with Hunter? Like, you guys must have been out of your mind. Was he like, you've earned this, guys, fucking enjoy it? Or was he like, guys, this is your chance, you better make the most of it?
A little bit of both. He said, you guys have worked your ass off and you deserve this. You've earned it. But he also said, when you go out there, wrestle just like you've always wrestled. Be physical, be mean, be nasty. We were working with the New Day. He just said, don't give them a second to breathe. Have the matches you have before. You can't have your 20-minute classics, but go out there and be buzzsaws like you have been, the whole time in NXT. He just wanted us to show Vince that we could go and that we were physical. And, we'll talk about this later, but just to give a little insight, I wish we wouldn't have debuted having a match. I wish we would have debuted in a segment with the New Day. And the reason is because if we debuted in a match with the New Day, we were, even though we did win against the biggest tag team in the world and one of the biggest tag teams of all time, we had to play on an even playing field with them, right? It was a almost 50-50 match, right, because they are the New Day. If we could have come in with that same reaction, the same energy those fans from around the world were giving us, but it could have been a segment or it could have been an attack or whatever, that would have been different. That would have been a different way to introduce us. But we were introduced in a match where it was 50-50, and we, but that's just how I would have booked it. But anyways, it was still a great moment, still a great reaction. Our second biggest reaction now of all time behind Revolution. Revolution now will be our biggest reaction. So that's cool.
With man, that was quite a reaction. And it was, people were excited to see you. People were always waiting for those NXT acts to be promoted. You now are on the main roster. What is Triple H's role there? Like at the time, maybe the first couple years or the first year or two. What's his role there? Like you said, he's not at NXT a whole bunch, but he's there for TVs. Does Triple H have a big presence at TV in WWE?
of course, he has a big presence. He's Triple H, and he's part of the Office, one of the greatest of all time, too. But at that time, his concern was twofold. He was still running NXT and trying to make it a successful third brand, which it was. But at the time, also, he was learning under Vince, watching how Vince did things, why Vince did things. He was listening to the headset. He was sitting beside Vince. So he was learning. He was on the job learning. I guess
was the feeling that it's Vince is prepping Triple H to take over?
That's what we thought. Yeah, that's what everyone thought. I mean, like I said, Hunter was there beside Vince and Gorilla every week, trying to figure out every little nuance that Vince could teach him. He was trying to figure it all out, because I think that he thought, and probably could have been promised too. Vince will change his mind in a second, but that he was going. Him and Stephanie were going to be the heir apparent to the company, and he was just, like I said, on the job training.
Is there any hanging out, like outside of work, chilling, fun moments with Triple H at all, or is he not that guy because he's the boss and he can't do that?
Well, not with us, he didn't do that with me and Cash, because again, not his guys. If you see pictures with Gargano now, Hunter's holding their baby and watching over the baby and hanging out with them.
Right.
I'm sure that he talked to Joe a lot, and I know him and Ferg have a great relationship together, but not with us. I think that, and I still do this today, and it sometimes can be to the detriment. I think that I feel like if we try too hard to politic or be nice or be friendly with Hunter, then he could see right through it and know that we were politicking. So we never tried. But with guys like I said, Gargano and Ciampa and Fergal, he was just drawn to them, and he wanted to be close to them. They didn't have to come to him and buddy up to him. He wanted to do that to them,
Right. And so as your career continues in WWE, you start to get frustrations start to mount a little bit. Is he someone you can talk to, or is he someone you have a relationship with where you have questions? What are your interactions with him as things start to get frustrating for you in WWE?
Yeah, I mean, we could, and we did, but he didn't change anything for us, or, again, we weren't a Kevin Owens to him. We weren't a Fergal Devitt to him. So he wasn't, and I don't blame him for this. But this is when I did realize, going into it, I thought we were Hunter guys, but this is when when our frustration started to mount on the main roster, this is when I realized, oh, okay, we weren't his guys,
So that was more of a realization than that was more of a realization. Like,
yeah. Like,
he didn't have your back.
No, I mean, I'm sure he did have our back, personally, but he was going to put his foot forward for his guys. Because imagine if he fought for everybody. Imagine if he fought for Joe, Fergal, Kevin Owens, Ciampa, Gargano, and us, and Nakamura. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be to the point where, because he knows Vince, it's going to be the point where Vince is like, oh, he's just trying to get his guys over.
He likes everybody. He wants everybody in,
right,
so.
Yeah. But that's when we realized, okay, we weren't his guys. We were bit players. We were good bit players, but we were bit players and on his brand. But like I remember after the Raw 25 thing, I remember being, like I said, I was so upset, man. Not even mad. I was just so distraught, because that was the realization that I had. Like, okay, we're not his guys. That's when I finally, it all hit me. But
Raw 25 was the tipping point for you,
yeah,
of realizing Triple H you're not a Triple H guy. It was that moment.
Yep. And I remember remember we talked to me and Cash asked if we could talk to Hunter after the thing was over, and he said, "Yeah." We talked to him after that, and we were like, "Hunter, is there any follow up to us? You know, are we gonna do? You know, are there any plans for us? You know, will we get to work with Fergal and the Good Brothers? Like, will we get to will we get to continue the feud?" And he said, "No, I don't think so, man. I'm sorry. I'm not really sure what you guys are gonna do. You know, I hate that you were put in that position tonight." Blah, blah, blah. So we heard all that. So that's, you know, God, I don't want to harp on the Road Dogg thing, but Road Dogg said we should be it should be our pleasure to be in the ring with guys like him and Hunter and Sean. And look, dude, it was a pleasure to work with those guys, but also he's got to look at it from my point of view. We were in there and we got the shit kicked out of us by everybody, and there was nothing to follow up on. If the next week, you know, we had if we had promo time and said, "Oh, these guys did this to us," and we got to complain like heels, then we had something to grow on, but we didn't, you know. And that's me standing up for myself, because I could have just got along to get along there.
Right.
But if I would have, we would have been stuck in the same rut and not looked at as the tag team we are today. But I and Cash, we fought for something. We fought for something we believed in, and we believed in us. But yeah, that was the conversation we had with Hunter after Raw 25.
And the lack of no follow-up means you feel like you're being treated like the J word, like you're being treated like you're nobodies now, because you're just guys, you're fodder, you're cannon fodder, and there's no reason for you to feel good about the future. You're just doing that, right?
Yes, for sure. But, you know, above that, that's now going to cut into my money. We have, if that's what we're looked at as, then we have no equity to fight for our family, for feeding our family, for making more money for our family. Look, the WWE is making billions of dollars a year, regardless. We're not at the time. I mean, we're not now either, but at the time we were making fucking pennies, you know? Like I said, we had contracts that were 125, 150, 175. And look, I understand it's a lot of money, like I've said before, but once you start including rental cars, hotels, all your food, all your travel, all your expenses, man, you don't come home with very much. And we weren't coming home with very much, right? And so I wanted to better position myself for me and Cash, of course, but more importantly for Maria and Finley, because I wanted to be able to take care of them after my body is broken down, you know, for wrestling for 19 years. I wanted to have something to give to them, so I wouldn't have to continue to work my ass off. And sometimes, you know, guys in charge don't see it that way.
It was, so in that sense, like, Raw 25 was the best possible thing that could have happened to you at the best possible time, right?
Wow, yeah, I guess so. I never thought about it, but yeah.
Like, you should almost be thankful. You should almost be thankful for that terrible experience, because without it, let's say there was follow-up, would you be where you are now? Like, probably not, right?
Right. Yeah, and you know, we continued to move forward. We continued to try to move forward and put on incredible house show matches so we could at least get some kind of traction going. And you know, we did. We'd have some start-stop traction. Excuse me. But yeah, I think ultimately it all, obviously, because I've talked about it on so many episodes, but I think it all ties back to that Raw 25 experience, understanding we didn't have Vince on our side, and the guy that we thought was on our side wasn't. Right. Not that he wasn't on our side, because I'm sure,
but not the way you wanted him to be.
Not to the point of he would have fought for us. And when the boss man is not on your side, and the guy right under the boss man isn't going to fight for you, then it makes things way more difficult.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about Triple H and you guys leaving the company and any interactions you had about that. But before we do, let's talk about Blue Chew, because time just changed. So that means we can't use the copy where the nights are getting longer, but the days are getting longer. So you can have some daytime love with Blue Chew. Because that's right, this episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Guys, we know that confidence can take you far in life. That's especially true in the bedroom. You guys know the rest. It's Blue Chew. It's a unique online service. It offers the same ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, and it's chewable, and it's a fraction of the cost, so it's cheaper. So if you haven't done it for financial reasons, today's the day. You can take them anytime, day or night. Plan ahead, or just be ready. The process is simple. Just go to BlueChew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. This is all online, guys. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. All online. There's no visit to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting in line at the pharmacies. And they're made in the USA and prepared and shipped direct to your door in a discreet package. Dax, you've talked much about Blue Chew. You've talked much about our sponsors. Again, this is a sponsor you heard about on other podcasts, and now here you are with legendary Blue Chew spots. What does it feel like?
Ooh, what does it feel like, dude? Do you really want me to tell you what it feels like?
Actually, let me rephrase the question.
Maybe rephrase that a little bit, dude.
What do you think about Blue Chew?
What I think about Blue Chew? Blue Chew has is a miracle worker, my friends. Blue Chew is not just for people with some sort of dysfunction. Blue Chew is for people who also just want to put a little bit more spice in their nights, spice in their days. Like you said, our days are getting longer, and you can allow your little buddy to get longer too with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is something for me that I absolutely enjoy having, obviously, because I get to take care of my Greek goddess, Maria. My God, I've talked about her fat old Greek ass to ad nauseum, but the thing is, you can't talk about a fat Greek ass to ad nauseum because it's so beautiful and so round and so incredible. And when I see that fat Greek ass, I think to myself, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll put the Blue Chew to the side because I don't need it. But then I rethink and say, yes, I do, because I need to make sure I give her some pleasure. I need to make sure I can pleasure her because she is a goddess and she's seen the best, and the best is Blue Chew. So Blue Chew is, like I said, a miracle worker.
And if Dax says so, you know it's true. Guys, go to BlueChew.com and use our code, because then you get it for free. And also you support the podcast. Go to Blue Chew. If you've ever thought about it, go to BlueChew.com, use the promo code DAX at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. $5. That's less than an app, you know? That's BlueChew.com, promo code DAX to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. And if you would like to sponsor the podcast as well, you can go to advertisewithftr.com. That's advertisewithftr.com, and you can advertise with us like our wonderful sponsors. But again, we'll try out the product, see if we like it. If we like it, we'll use it, and then we'll talk about it. Dax, to wrap up the Triple H talk, we've painted a picture of him today. You know, a lot of people don't know him. We know what he shows us, but we don't really know the real guy. Things start getting difficult. Things start getting really contentious with you in WWE. At any point, does Triple H step in and talk to you about the contract when you get the big offer, or maybe when it appears like you're going to go? How involved is he, if at all?
Yeah, really involved. I remember there was a television that we had made the decision. I mean, we had talked about it before, but there was a TV where we were like, today is the day we're going to ask for our release. And we were going to go to Vince, straight to Vince and ask him. But that day they were doing something with Braun Strowman. I want to say it was something like he was flipping over a truck or something like that, or maybe he was pulling down the Titantron. But it was something where Vince was hands-on with it, and it was taking all day. So we couldn't get a hold of Vince before. And so going into TV, we were wrestling Lucha House Party that night. And we went to Hunter and we said, hey, Hunter, do you think we could talk to you later today? And he said, yes, absolutely, of course. So we had our match with Lucha House Party. Hunter we didn't talk to him. Every time we had tried to talk to him, he told us it would be just a few more minutes. So we had our match with Lucha House Party, came back to the back, and we had just won. We were in our sweaty gear, and we said, Hunter, we need to talk now, like right now. And he said, well, let's just wait until a little bit later. We said, no, we need to talk now. He said, okay, give me 5 minutes. So we waited outside, and I waited outside of Gorilla. And I remember my daughter had just sent me one of these text messages where she talks through her emoji. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. It's
Okay.
it's like a squirrel or something. Or,
Right.
You know,
And
yeah.
I still have the text message where she sent it to me. She sent it to me through my wife's phone. And, she was telling me how much she loved me and couldn't wait to see me tomorrow because I was coming home. And I was, I had my back turned to Gorilla, and Pam was in front of me. Bailey was in front of me. And I was looking at this text message, and you could hear, because I had it turned all the way up, you could hear Finley saying, "Hey, Daddy, this is Finley. I can't wait to see you tomorrow." Blah, 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 things like that. And Hunter comes up behind my shoulder. He's like, "Oh, is that your daughter?" And then right then I'm like, oh my God, he just saw me being really humanized. And my plan was to be, this gruff man and saying, we need a release because of this. So it was kind of an awkward situation.
She shattered your shell.
Yes. Yeah. And so me and Dan told Hunter, we said, look, Hunter, we appreciate everything that you've done for us. We appreciate everything this company has done for us, but we think we've hit a ceiling here and we would like for our release. And he was like, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yes." And this is before, this is right before AEW. And we said, "Yeah, we really would." He said, "Well, there's some big plans coming up in the future, and they involve you guys." And we said, "Look, we understand that, but I think we need to go away for a bit." And he said, "I can promise you there's a big wave of change coming." He said, "You guys want to be part of that, I promise." And we again said, we understand that, we respect that, but we need a release. He said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And we said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, go to Mark Carrano, tell him, and we'll start things, we'll get things started there." I don't know how far you want to go into this. If you want to save it for our exit, maybe that would be better if you save it for the exit episode.
Well, specifically with Triple H, on this episode, as we're wrapping up, what was your last interaction like, or towards the end when you knew you were going? Did you have any goodbye words with Triple H?
No, because it was about a year later, maybe a year and a few months later, that we actually got a release. We asked for a release in January of 2019. And we got a release in April, or maybe it was the end of March of 2020. Yeah, excuse me, not even the end of March. It was the beginning of March, right before the pandemic.
Right.
I think today, as we record this, maybe it was 3 years ago. Oh my God, I'll have to look back and see. But it's coming up on the anniversary of three years ago. But we had continuously asked for a release. We had talked to Carrano again, and he promised that. He said Dan did get 2 months added to his time on the contract because of his jaw. He said, but no one added time on for your bicep injury. And he said, I give you my word, we are not going to add on time. Your contract will end in April. Cash's contract will end in June. Excuse me, not June. I apologize. I'm sorry. And May. And we were like, okay, that's fine, because I can take off in April, have a few months off, let my body heal up, and then they probably wouldn't book Dan from April until May. Or wait a second, I'm sorry, it was June. From April until June,
right?
Because he's not with me, and so he could just sit at home, and we just rest up until June, and then go from there. Then March 2020 rolled around. We get the call from Carrano. He said, look, you guys have asked, many times up until just a few weeks ago for your release, and we've said no. Well, we finally come to an agreement with the boss man to give you a release, but it's under one condition. You have to sign over all of your copyrights. And
Right.
we had spent $10,000 on copyrights, right? And at that point, we were like, just please get us out of here. We just want to leave. We just need to leave. But before that, I had said, well, it's March. My contract's up next month, and Dan's is up in June. So it would kind of be, it kind of be asked backwards for us to sign our rights or our copyrights away. And he said, well, I got some unfortunate news. They have decided to tack on your bicep injury time to your contract. So you won't be eligible for release until August. And we were like, you motherfucker.
Right.
So we had to sign over our $10,000 of copyrights to them. And that's how we finally got out. But no, we did not hear from Hunter. To be fair, though, I did send Hunter a text maybe a week later, 2 weeks later, something like that. And I just told him I appreciate everything he did for me, my family, and I hope, we could work together eventually. And he sent me a very nice text back that I still have saved on my phone. So that was our last conversation we had together.
And during that last year, that contentious year with Triple H, what was his attitude towards you? Cool, or was he kind of cold shouldering you a little bit?
No, he was cool. I mean, especially considering the fact that we had gotten in trouble a few times, like just kind of standing up for ourselves, or being smart asses. Like one time, I think I've told you before on the podcast, we were cutting a promo and they had y'all Van, let's go fuck our cousins and shit like that, because we were stupid rednecks who couldn't amount to anything. Right. And I said something on the house mic as we were going over our promo, and it got some heat on us, and we had to meet with him and Bruce Pritchard. And he said, look, what you said was funny. I can't be mad at you. And you have a reason to be upset. We understand that. And things like that. So we had a fine relationship up into that, after that. And like I said, when we became Raw Tag Team Champions, we were saddled with, not in a bad way, but saddled with working with his NXT call-ups like Gargano and Ciampa, until Ciampa, had a broken neck. Then Ricochet and Aleister Black. We worked with them and put them over as well. So that was kind of our, again, we were there to make other people look good.
Well, we put it out on Twitter. We said, do you have any questions about Triple H? And of course, our Twitter is at FTR with Dax, and Dax's Twitter is at DaxFTR, and I'm at Matt Coon Music. Do you have any questions that you see on there? I'm looking as well.
Yeah. So there's one from at TJ Andrews 93 using the hashtag FTR with Dax. He says, was there ever discussion to create or join a faction, or even have a manager for you guys in WWE? If you could have chosen the people to work with, who would you have liked to be in a big group with? Well, TJA, we were in a ton of factions and a ton of groups. Like I said, at one time we were with Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre, and then we were with Elias was with us as well. Then it was Dolph. It was us and Dolph and Baron Corbin. Towards the end of our run with WWE, we were put in a faction with Nakamura and Sami Zayn against Braun Strowman, but that's when we refused to go to Saudi Arabia because we hate that place, and that's when they decided to kind of ice us for a bit. And then obviously us and Randy Orton. And if I could choose one person to be in a group with, it would be Randy. That's who we had so much natural chemistry with him. We all had the same ideology on psychology. We all had the same ideology on nice, snug, clean in-ring work. I don't, they had no managers at the time except for Paul Heyman, and that's not somebody I'd, like to have as a manager. So, we had a ton of groups, and they just never really, none of them took off except for the one with Randy, and that got over too much organically, and it was cut short.
There's a question here from Lee Petrie at Squared Circle TV.
That's my friend. That's my buddy Lee. He just brought us he bought at the meet and greet. He brought us a bottle of Cincoro, Michael Jordan's tequila, Cincoro Añejo, which is not cheap. He also brought us a bottle of Jack Daniel's single barrel too. So,
well, go Lee. So plug for Lee. Good job, Lee. When you discussed your wrestling heroes, various territories and old matches, what were the names, territories, and matches you discussed with Triple H? That's his question. I guess my question is, did you ever talk wrestling with him?
Yep. A lot of times we talked about the Horsemen a lot. Like there was an angle we did with Enzo and Cass where Enzo pulled up. You can still find it on YouTube, but he pulled up to the Performance Center on his motorcycle. And this is all filmed on security cameras. So that made it even more real. And Enzo pulled up on his motorcycle. Cash and I came from around the corner. We attacked Enzo out in the parking lot. And here comes Cash flying from inside of the Performance Center out where he takes care of us, and we take off running like chicken shit heels. And he and I talked, and we were talking about like how to make this work. And we were talking about the angle with Dusty and the Horsemen, where they hire a cameraman to follow. They hire a cameraman to come with them to follow Dusty, and they attack Dusty and then break his hand with the baseball bat. So we talked about that.
Make it good.
With the American Alpha, we talked. He wanted the series of matches and the feud to be like the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express.
Wow, he referenced that, huh?
Yes, yep, he sure did. And it obviously got cut short because they called American Alpha up to the main roster prematurely. Not prematurely as in their talent, but prematurely as they shouldn't have been called up that soon because there was really no plans for them then. And prematurely because the angle wasn't over yet. But he loved Mid-Atlantic wrestling. He loved Mid-South wrestling. We talked about wrestling all the time. All right, and our last question for the day from Twitter, using the hashtag FTR with Dax. It is at Exit Zoo Station, Diamond Stud. He says, how different is Triple H from Vince in terms of management style? Who is more approachable, more receptive to your ideas and issues? Also, how did things change backstage? I don't know what he meant by how did things change backstage, because I wasn't there when the change happened with Hunter. Right. But Triple H from Vince in terms of management style, I think Vince leads through fear. I think he enjoys that. I think he enjoys being which a lot of guys do, but he enjoys being the alpha male, but he also enjoys being the master kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he enjoys people being afraid of him. And I don't think
good.
Hunter,
it's good to be the king, Right. That's kind of how he feels. Yeah.
I don't think Hunter really wanted to rule with, a sword. You know what I mean? I think he wanted to rule with an iron fist and wanted people to respect him. I think Vince wanted to scare people into respecting him. Obviously, Hunter was more approachable, but that, I don't even want to say obviously, because Vince was very approachable.
That's what people say, right?
Yeah, Vince is very approachable. There were so many guys who were really afraid to talk to him, but we were outside of his office all the time. And, we had to wait and talk to him because, he was only at television. But so we had to wait outside of his office until he was free, to the point where Michael Hayes talked shit to us for waiting outside because we were trying to better our careers. But they're both very approachable, but Hunter's more approachable. And Hunter's also more receptive to your ideas, but Hunter's ideas for what he wants to do is what we're going to do. We can bounce ideas off of him, and there were plenty of times when I did, and this or that or why, and he would tell us why. But his ideas always came with a great reason, and it made sense. I'll tell you, one time we did get our way, and it was in the 2 out of 3 falls match with DIY. The 2 out of 3 falls match with DIY was supposed to be 2 straight falls. That's it. They were supposed to beat us 2 straight falls. Again, not Hunter guys. But we knew we could do something special that night. And we already had in our heads how we could paint this picture and how we could tell this story. And we explained to him why we needed it to be 3 falls, explained why it was important for it to be 3 falls. And he agreed, and he allowed us to go the 3 falls. But it was supposed to be initially 2 falls straight for them. And we fought for it. Not in a combative way, but fought for it and stood up for ourselves. And he listened, and he agreed with it. And we, humbly speaking, got to have the greatest WWE tag match of all time because of that.
Well, that brings us to the close of this topic of Triple H. We hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. Of course, go to our live show. You're going to want to see it, because the only people going to get to see the whole thing are going to be in person, plus the after. Hang out with us. Drink some tequila. Meet, have tequila with some of your favorite wrestlers. It's a pretty cool time. Go to FTR.
Sorry, that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. I can't explain that. I can't like say that enough. Like the live show is going to be great, and I can't wait for that. It's going to be fun hanging out with my friends and telling stories. But afterwards is going to be a blast for me, because I get to talk to people who have shaped my life and my career, and we get to share drinks. And even if you don't drink, we don't have to have drinks, but we get to share conversation. It's not a thing where we're going to be lined up. You guys are going to be lined up and pushed out the door after you say hello to us. I'm going to be standing there with a drink in my hand, and we're going to converse. And I can't wait for that, dude. So please plug the tickets. I just wanted to say that real quick.
It's great because, like, when I talked to you today, you were so jacked, so happy, so inspired and enthused just by all the interaction you got yesterday with fans. So you live for it, and so do the other guests. So come see Dax Harwood live with a live mic in a crucial moment of his career with tequila. You're not going to want to miss it. Go get tickets at FTRwithDax.com. Now, Dax, you sent me a match of the week, so you didn't forget what it was.
Right.
And do you remember what it is?
Yes, I do remember. That's why I just did it, so I wouldn't forget. Speaking of Hunter, today the match of the week is Triple H versus Shawn Michaels from Raw, December the 29th, 2003. The match is like 30-something minutes. It's incredible. I remember talking to Hunter about this match, and he told us this match was mostly called in the ring because him and Shawn knew each other so well that Shawn allowed Hunter to call the match in the ring. Obviously, I'm sure they put some stuff together, but it's so organic. The match is so organic, and it's two guys reacting off of each other, right? It's two guys who are in there trying to outsell each other, but one selling as a perennial babyface and other selling as a badass cheap heel. And the action never stops, but they also don't sacrifice holds. And what I mean by that is they don't just move from one move to another or from one spot to another. They sacrifice holds. And the high spots are ran out of holds. It's such a beautiful match, dude. And it's one of my favorite Raw matches of all time.
Well, that is December 29th, 2003, Monday Night Raw. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, the subject of today's show. The next week, we're going, or the following week, before March is over, we're definitely going to get through our final 16 for the greatest tag team of all time with Tag Team March Madness. Of course, come to our live show. If you need great t-shirts, go to DaxHarwood.com. Dax, another great episode. And are we gonna see you on Dynamite this week? Do you know?
Brother, I ain't got the pencil, so I don't know. I hope so.
Well, we hope we see everybody next week, and everybody who listens. Thank you, everybody, for everything you do. And we'll talk to you next week on FTR with Dax Harwood. It's wrestling's biggest weekend of the year. Los Angeles, California, March 30th. It's
Dax Harwood.
Dax from FTR.
Dax Harwood live Thursday, March 30th in Los Angeles, California at the site of WrestleCon with special guests Powerhouse Hobbs, Sean Spears, Wardlow, and of course Cash of FTR. Get your tickets today at FTRwithDax.com. Join Dax on stage with a live mic and tequila. We are going to talk about things that we have never talked about on the podcast, and rumor has it there might be a couple surprise guests as well. So what are you waiting for? You're going to want to say you were there. Come see FTR with Dax Harwood live Thursday, March 30th at the Millennium Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, California. Get your tickets today at FTRwithDax.com.